we are gathered here this evening to mourn the death of the Crow series. Again.
I'm the biggest bird, I'm the biggest bird, I'm the biggest bird, I'm the biggest bird.
The Crow is directed by Rupert Sanders and stars Bill Skarsgård and FKA Twigs, and is a reboot of the 1994 film, which is an adaptation of James O'Barr's original comic. I'm going to be honest and upfront now. The Crow is my favorite movie, and it's also my favorite comic. So this movie kind of had a bias against it going into it, but I don't think that that's going to save it from a lot of what I have to say about this movie. A lot of people are going to compare this to the original, and that's natural, because when a piece of media is so iconic and you choose to redo that, comparisons are inevitable. But I think what's even worse about this movie is the fact that it doesn't follow in the footsteps of the sequels or even the comics behind me. It decides to instead retell the story of Eric and Shelley. I think by doing this, the movie sort of put itself in a really awkward position because the characters aren't Eric or Shelley from the comic. They're actually kind of unrecognizable. And that's sort of a strange choice to do when, like I mentioned, the series is like an anthology. You don't have to do that. But despite all of that, I was willing to go in with an open mind. This is The Crow. It's my favorite thing ever. And we're finally getting new content in 2024. I was hoping for at least some good action and some good romance. And well, did I get that? Let me just talk about the things I liked, because that's going to be a much shorter section than the things I didn't like, unfortunately. For starters, I think that Bill Skarsgård is a pretty good successor to take up the Crow mantle. But in this movie, he doesn't really get a chance to shine until the very end as the Crow. For most of the movie, Eric is just Eric, which is kind of a problem I have with the movie that I'll get into. But once that third act kicks in and Bill Skarsgård gets to be the Crow, I think he's got it. I think that he embodies the character really well, and I really wish we would have gotten more of that. And kind of just speaking of that third act, the action in this movie generally was pretty good. There's not a lot of it, but when we do get it, I really did enjoy the set pieces that we got. Especially that final set piece that we got that takes place in the opera house that's in the trailer. It is awesome. That's the only way I can put it. It's got really good choreography and gore that just oozes with the Crow style. And if the rest of the movie was like that, I think I would like it more. I just said that about Bill Skarsgård, and I'm saying it about Act 3 here. You might notice a theme going on here. And then also, I just thought there were some really good shots in this movie. I think visually, for the most part, this has a really unique look to it. Not nearly as stylish as the other Crow films, notably The Crow and Crow City of Angels, which have this amazing art direction and cinematography. This movie doesn't quite reach those heights, but I did like some of the moody atmosphere that the movie offered, and there were some genuinely awesome shots in the movie that I thought were just really cool. And that's about it for what I liked and what I thought the movie did right. Almost everything else, I think that this movie unfortunately fails at doing. For starters, I think this film's biggest problem is its script. There are a lot of fundamental problems with the way that the story is structured and the way information is gathered in the story that just really made the movie kind of unbelievable to watch at the moment. One of the things that happens all the time in this movie is that characters are in the right place at the right time for things to happen. There's a scene towards the end of the first act where Eric and Shelley are in a club, and then Shelley's friend kind of just finds them there. He walks straight into the club, goes straight to the back, and then goes straight to Shelley. And stuff like that happens all the time in this movie. Eric doesn't get to do a lot of Crow stuff in this movie. That's one of the biggest issues that I'm going to talk about. But regarding the script, he doesn't really interrogate his enemies. He actually kind of just like looks at their cell phones, and on the phones are text messages that tell the people where to go. That is a device that the script has chosen to use. It's not great. It's almost kind of amateurish. It was really poorly structured and really imbalanced. One of the biggest imbalances being a third of this movie is dedicated to building up Bill Skarsgård and FKA Twigs as Eric and Shelley. And well, they have no chemistry. Eric and Shelley in this movie do not really feel compatible at all. And the fact that we spend so much time with them really just made the movie kind of a slog to get through. There were scenes that just kept happening, and this was obviously an attempt to get us to kind of feel for Eric and Shelley before Shelley is murdered in the movie. But this didn't really work out because we don't really get to see their relationship. We see scenes that tell us that they're in a really good relationship, but we don't really get to see what about them that makes them click. We don't really have a reason to root for this couple. As a result, a whole third of the movie kind of just feels like throwaway filler because we have no engagement to this story. I personally just didn't think FKA Twigs and Bill Skarsgård were a match in this movie. It kind of felt like at the beginning that this was more of a Shelley story than a Eric story, and that was really strange because Eric is the main character of the movie. He is the Crow. And I think that makes for a really interesting choice narratively, but Shelley is really underdeveloped, and so is Eric. We know nothing about these characters other than that they are in rehab and they are both sort of mentally broken. Unfortunately, these just aren't characters that are really that interesting to follow, and that's a big disappointment. As a whole, though, this movie just had a lot wrong with it. A lot that just didn't feel like a Crow movie. And I know that that's sort of going to feel hypocritical with me saying I sort of separated the original from this movie. But when you're making a Crow story, there's some things that are sort of synonymous with that character and with that IP. For example, the needle drops in this movie. The original Crow album is a really iconic goth rock greatest hits album almost. And in this movie, we don't really have that, but we do have these really oddly placed needle drops in the movie of just random songs, and they don't feel really connected at all. The music in this movie just didn't really sonically link at all, and that sort of applies to the whole rest of the movie. It's impossible to talk about this movie without comparing it to the original, but even if this were just a movie by itself, I just don't think it worked. Where I would rank this among the original Crows, though, is kind of surprisingly low. I'll be honest, I went into this movie with low expectations, and this movie somehow managed to go below that. This is one of the biggest disappointments of the year for me, for sure. And that's unfortunate because I wanted to be wrong. Like I said, Bill Skarsgård's great. When we get action, it's really cool, and it's shot pretty well. But almost everything else, even down to technical aspects such as the sound not being properly mixed and hearing room tone not being properly taken in some scenes, really makes this movie feel like there was no care put into it. I would have liked to see this in the hands of somebody who actually sort of understands the material and kind of knows the fan base that it attracts, because this movie sort of does everything in its power to sort of disregard that fan base. It's a really weird dichotomy, and I think that it just sort of adds to the negative sort of aura around this movie. I mentioned at the beginning of this review that I love The Crow, that is my favorite thing ever, and a testament to that is the Crow homage that I made. You might have seen it. If not, check it out right here. There's also a BTS video that you can check out, but this movie just means a lot to me. And so all of these sort of problems sort of start stacking up. To put it bluntly, this movie isn't good. There's not a lot to like about it, but there are some cooler aspects of it that I wish were focused on a little bit more. As a result, I'm gonna have to give this movie a 3 out of 10. That's a pretty low score, and I don't really think it had to be this way. There are a lot of easy fixes that I think could have been made. Unfortunately, even though this movie was stuck in production hell for so long and we didn't get to see anything for a while, it kind of shows, and it's not really worth the wait at all. Have you seen The Crow? If you have, let me know what you think down below. And hey, here's my review to Alien Romulus. I think that movie's a lot better. Check that out. I think that you're better off watching that movie than you are watching this movie. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll see you in the next one. Adios.